What's up, y'all? Welcome to Tabletop Bros. Today we're going to be unboxing Killzone Bheta-Decima. But there's plenty of other unboxing videos out there, so more importantly, we're going to be comparing some of like the various size and compatibility elements with some other pieces of terrain. So I got a bunch of other Games Workshop terrain pieces, and we're going to check all those out to see if they're the same height, what we can attach together, and just overall like comparison / compatibility. So let's go ahead and bust this thing open. So just kind of looking at the box here, it basically has a rundown on the back. We've got a double-sided game board. We've got 8 objective markers. And then we've got one of the Ferratonic Furnaces, one new top piece with some cool new barricades that clip onto the sides. And then we've got 2 super long platform pieces, 2 regular platform pieces, 2 more regular platform pieces, and then 2 small platform pieces, and then some various different legs that attach as well. And it does look like there are some different sizes for the legs. So let's go ahead and bust this open and take a look. So as far as the actual box itself is concerned, Games Workshop has went back to like the cheap, real like thin kind of cardboard, gotten away from the sort of like thicker, more durable cardboard. So it definitely makes the product feel a little bit more cheap. Size wise, it's pretty close to the actual Chow Math box, which had the book, 2 kill teams, and all the terrain in it. So this is about the same size box. There's a little bit of extra room in here, but it is pretty full. So it looks like a decent amount of terrain. It's also pretty heavy, so definitely some plastic in here. So right off the bat, we have the assembly manual. Nothing too crazy in here. Pretty simple putting together the actual objective markers. Most of them are like 2 pieces. There's a couple little smaller pieces on a couple of them. And then the typical Ferratonic Furnace. The top new platform piece has definitely got some components to it. It does look like it has a lot of the same modularity with the little clip system in there. So that is cool to see. Overall, looks pretty simple, nothing too crazy. Got some little like mini risers that go on the bottom of these. So yeah, I mean, nothing too crazy here in the book as far as assembly instructions. They are stackable, so that is definitely cool. All right, interesting. So let's go ahead and jump in here. So first off, one that we're fully familiar with, this is the Ferratonic Furnace. And this appears to be the exact same old Ferratonic Furnace. Nothing new here. All right, and then next we have the objective sprues. So they are a little bit bigger than I expected, but they're the correct size of like what your normal objective markers would be, which you would presume. For some reason, they just look a little bit smaller on the box. But yeah, very cool, nice detail on them. Nothing too crazy going on here. All right, and then we've got that big old top piece. So this thing's pretty neat. I like the clip-on little barricades. They remind me of the traditional Killteam barricades, but obviously they have the clips built into them so they can go on the side of your actual platforms. And then we see the one central circle piece, and then of course like the outer piece that connects to it. And then we see these are the standard Games Workshop clips. So this does appear to be fully compatible with all the rest of the Mechanicus stuff. So that's pretty cool. It does look like they've basically hollowed these pieces out though. And we see there's like 2 clips right here and then the piece that clips into it. But there's not like a ton of other spots like there was on like the more traditional stuff. All right, and then we've got 2 of these sprues exactly the same. So these appear to be the exact same ones from the previous sets. So that is cool, fully compatible, exactly the same. And then this one is like a extended piece, which is just 2 of the big ones put together. And then again, we see more of the actual clips. And then this is just some like top little pieces that can kind of sit on top. Basically like go over top any of these squares here. So pretty nice sprue right here. A little bit of the old and then also a little something new. And it does appear that the designs are the same on these ones, but because of the way this is extended, it's slightly different. It's not like the same as just combining 2 of these together to make that. So interesting. All right, and then these are the last 2 sprues. So 7 total sprues in the set, and these appear to be exactly the same. So with this, we have 8 of these like riser pieces, and there does appear to be 2 different sizes. So we have like your standard size right here, which are the short ones, and then we have some even shorter ones right here, and then they have some potential pieces to either stack them on top of each other or just make them slightly taller. I'm not sure exactly how that works. So interesting. We'll have to dive into these a little bit and see. Then we got one of the standard piece of paper, and then here is our actual Killzone Bheta-Decima board. Double-sided board. This is the actual like cardboard, not just the cheap little paper fold out, and it is the 22 by 30 standard Killteam board. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and clip a couple of these out and see how they stack up compared to the other stuff. All right, so just wanted to get started with a couple of these. So here's two of the regular ones, and they are basically the same size. And then because we have two of the same sprue, and then also two various, and then the two sides of the sprue appear to be the same, there's definitely a lot of redundancy in this set. So basically the risers right here are just like essentially just the bottom pieces, but built into the bottom of them allows you to stack them, it looks like. So with the riser attached, they're the same height. Without the riser, they're a little bit shorter. And then with the riser attached to it, which I would imagine you're supposed to glue that riser onto the bottom, you're then able to push this on and then stack these pieces. So you have like a taller version as well. And then there's 4 of these. So basically you're going to end up with like 8 total and then 2 sets of those. So 16 total legs. And then you have the ability to just make 8 tall legs out of them or just keep them to 16 shorter legs. So interesting decision right there by Games Workshop. And then as far as like the height compatibility, this is our double stack right here. And that is the same height as the standard like Games Workshop terrain. So then the half height one, just bust out a little tape measure action. So just under 2.5 inches. So when this has the actual like floor piece on it, it's going to be exactly 2.5 inches. And then this piece makes up for that floor piece inside there. So again, this one is like just over 2 3/4 inches. So once you attach the actual like floor or platform piece, this is going to be 5 inches. So let's check out one of these pieces. So that is the same height as our typical one. Once we do the double stack, one cool thing about them is they are completely line of sight blocking. So even though this is a lot of like actual platforms, we do have a decent amount of line of sight blocking, which is nice. You can also go ahead and compare this to the Necromunda Dark Uprising pieces as well. So again, without the floor attached to it, there's a slight size difference. So if we do attach the floor to it, it's just a little bit off, which is sort of weird. So let's just kind of push that stuff off to the side here. This is our new sprue that came in the set. And then this one here is the old style sprue right here. So we can see essentially, if we compare these, this is this exact same piece, this is this exact same piece, and then this is just slightly different in design, same size and everything like that, but like this one has like the little cog in the middle, the new style does not. And then this double long piece right here is slightly different, but essentially has like a very similar pattern to if you just attach 2 of these. And then if we just flip them over here, again, we can see that these are the same pattern and everything on the bottom, fully compatible. You get a couple less clips with like the new set as you did with the old stuff, but other than that, same thing. So very nice to see that this is all compatible with all the old Sector Mechanicus stuff, which means that all our like side railings from the old stuff, all the clips, all that is going to fully go with the new stuff. So let's go ahead and just clip a couple of these out and take a look at what we got going on here. All right, so here is our long one, and then we have our 2, which were the old version of the long ones. And if we just put 2 of those right by each other, that's going to equal 1 of the long ones. And then this is, each one of these is 2 of the shorter ones. So 2 of these makes 1 of these, and then 2 of these makes 1 of these. So very cool, nice and compatible. And then as far as like the actual hookups and everything, we can basically just put our old leg piece on here. And then that's going to be the equivalence of if we would have glued this, which I did not yet, and just put this as a leg piece. That's going to give us 1 tall piece right there. And then the other option is to just use 2 of the shorter pieces. And that's going to be our shorter height one right there. So decent little setup. You can basically build like some actual pieces that cross over top of other ones. Definitely makes for some cool setups. And then again, we see there is a slight difference in size between these, unfortunately, but it's close enough that you could like have them be compatible, but it's not exact. Like this one is just slightly shorter. It's tough to probably tell, but it is just a little bit off. And then just compatibility wise, we'll just show a couple of the other pieces that we have. So here we've got one of those standard size shipping containers. So this is basically going to stack up just underneath. So you could actually slide a shipping container under here, which is cool because you can make one of these like completely obscuring, or potentially if you flip it to the side, again, it's going to slide under here like perfect. There's just a little bit of gap in between. So not quite exactly the same size, but if you kind of like laid one out this way or this way, it's compatible enough that you could kind of like use it on the same board without it looking awkward. So that is definitely cool. Next, we have a piece of the sector Fronteris terrain right here. So again, this is like slightly higher than the shipping container. And then if we compare that to the new stuff, if this has one of the pieces that sit on top of it, it's going to be just slightly taller. So it's going to go like basically just on top of here. So the shipping container is like just short enough that it could slide underneath here. And then the sector Frontier stuff is just high enough that it could basically like go on top of that. So all of these things are just a little bit different. And then we've also got one of these like landing pads. So this thing compared to the shipping container is basically just a little bit shorter, which means if we compare that to the new stuff, it's just gonna slide under here just like almost perfectly. Again, there's just a little bit of a gap between it, but you could essentially have a piece like this kind of going over top of this. I mean, I don't know exactly why you would or anything like that, but there's enough of a compatibility that you could use all this stuff on the game board together, but it's not all going to be like the exact same height. So yeah, pretty cool setup overall. Definitely like the style and look and everything of the new terrain. I'm not a big fan of the fact that they busted this up into two separate boxes, but I do understand why they did it. There was some problems in the past with a lot of 40k people wanting like the actual kill teams because they're useful in 40k. So like this is the introduction of the new plastic striking scorpions and the new plastic scouts. So there's going to be a ton of 40k demand, especially for the scouts because they're so good and they're like the new plastic models, as where the terrain there's not going to be as much hype for. And then this box is massive and bulky in comparison to the actual like kill teams, the actual salvation box itself with the teams and the book and everything in it. So it's a lot easier for Games Workshop to make like a smaller amount of these and then just make like 3, 4, 5 times as many of the actual salvation boxes. So I do get why they did that. It does make it more expensive if you're going to pick everything up, which is unfortunate. But to tell you the truth, like with some of the issues getting hold of stuff in the past, it's worth paying a couple extra dollars just for Games Workshop to be able to actually make what people want, so everybody can get what they want, even if they have to pay a little bit more. Okay, so final thoughts on all this stuff. I think overall it's a nice box. There's definitely a lot of plastic in it. It's heavy. Do you feel like you get your money's worth? Yeah, it's a decent amount of terrain for that price, and there's definitely a lot of line of sight blocking with like the actual like pillar leg pieces and everything being completely obscuring, so that is kind of nice. It's a decent amount of plastic inside the box. They could have, if they wanted, fit like maybe 1 or 2 more sprues in there and really made it worth your money. But you do get a lot of platforms, which are cool, and they're getting hard to get, especially with like all the Mechanicus stuff being out of print at this point in time. Everything is compatible with all the old Mechanicus stuff, which is nice. Size wise, it's a little bit awkward because like the actual like bunker missile silo, whatever you want to call it, piece is slightly smaller than the actual shipping containers, which are slightly smaller than the Zone Mortalis pillar pieces, which are slightly shorter than the Mechanicus pieces from this set, which are slightly smaller than the Sector Frontier stuff. And then of course this is double the height of these and fully compatible with the old Mechanicus legs. So it's a little weird that everything is a different size, but overall compatibility wise, like you could definitely use all this stuff on a board together. I'm not exactly sure why they went this route with these things. I don't really understand that. I think they could have easily like molded this into the bottom of these pieces. Maybe once I toy around with it more, like I'll understand, but like these pieces, because they have like the little ridge on the bottom, are definitely not meant to stand up without this. So this is supposed to be like glued on here for sure, 100%. So I guess the real question I have is then if this is supposed to be glued on here 100%, why didn't they just make them all like this and then mold in the little like holes into the bottom of these so they could just all stack on top of each other? I really don't know, because other than that, they're exactly the same. Like the design on them is slightly different. There's ladders on one side and then like a different design on the other side. They are like slightly different actual look and everything. But if you pop off like this little piece that I stuck on here, which is really just the bottom of another piece, like the dimensions that matter and everything are the same. It's just the exact same height and everything. They're just stackable. So I don't really understand why they did that. Maybe I'm missing something. Again, I'm just busting into this, so possibly there's something else to it. But in every picture I'm seeing, they have them glued onto the bottom. And again, you can't like stand this up because of the little like ridge design on the bottom. Yeah, so I'm not really sure why they didn't just make this one piece. Maybe something to do with like the actual like casting or molding process. But yeah, overall it's a nice set, pretty cool. Looks like a decent value in the box. Again, it's a little more expensive if you're going to be picking up Salvation and the Killzone Beta-Decima, which would have been the equivalent of just buying one of the old Killteam boxes. So that kind of sucks, but it does feel like you get quite a bit of terrain in here, and then you get some other terrain inside the other box, and then of course you get the additional objective markers as well. So pretty nice set. It's cool, it's a little different, and it is compatible with all of the old stuff, which is good. So I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. If you found any value with like the size comparison or this like unboxing, if there's anything you'd like to see in the future, or you have any questions, need me to check any measurements or anything like that, just let me know down in the comments. I'd be glad to do that for you. But we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. That's it from the Tabletop Bros with the Killzone Beta-Decima unboxing. Later.